fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo silver, the Lone Ranger. Faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains, led the fight for law and order in the early western United States. Nowhere in the pages of history can one find a greater champion of justice. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of the great horse Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again.
Come on, Silver! Let's go, big fellow! Hi-yo, Silver! Hi!
During the early 1870s, terror gripped the West. The most daring men feared to travel on public conveyances. Every piece of freight and express was an object of suspicion.
Hey, maybe there's nitroglycerin in that thing.
Let's get out of here.
Nitroglycerin was then a recent invention, but it was in great demand for use in mining and railroad construction. It had been found 100 times more effective than powder in blasting hard rock. However, it was extremely dangerous to transport it. One small shipment had blown up in the San Francisco office of Wells Fargo, killing or wounding more than 100 persons.
Somebody ought to plug that fella Nobel who makes this stuff.
Those scientists will monkey around till they blow up all creation.
Express and transportation companies had banned further shipments of nitroglycerin, but a bootleg traffic in the liquid death continued. One of the principal nitro runners was Sim Sherwood. The shack where he lived in Colesport faced the river that flowed into the Gulf a short distance downstream. He pretended to be a commercial fisherman. Sherwood's eyes were wary as he studied a tall young man who had called on him.
Did you say your name is Les Harcourt?
Yes, Mr. Sherwood. I have a tunneling outfit.
So you want some nitro?
I'd like to try it out. It could solve a big problem for me.
How's that, Les?
My company has a contract to open a tunnel through Mount Mason for the S&M Railroad.
Oh, yes. The railroad wants to extend its line to Colesport.
It'll be a great thing for this town.
No doubt. But it'll put the Star Stage and Freight Company out of business.
Yeah, that can't be helped, Mr. Sherwood.
How you coming with the tunnel?
We're stalled. Halfway through, we ran into solid granite.
I see.
Blasting powder hardly touches the rock.
Nitro will do the work.
I hope so. Unless the tunnel's finished by the first of the year, I'll lose the contract.
Well, nitro is mighty expensive stuff.
I know it's hard to get,
I have it sneaked in from Sweden on tramp steamer.
I heard from a hard rock miner that you have a big supply.
I have 100 gallons buried on the beach. The skipper who unloaded it charged me 100 times more than ordinary cargo rates.
Well, what's your price on it?
50
$50.
$10,000 for enough to finish your job.
Why, it's highway robbery.
Take it or leave it. I can sell it to miners for that price.
I'll have to take it.
Yeah. The nitro containers are in boxes packed with sawdust. I'll label the boxes dried fish, and then ship them to Mount Mason over the Star Stage and Freight Line.
The Star people won't freight anything to me. They don't want the tunnel finished. My foreman and another man are in town with a mule train. I'll have them move the nitro. When can we load it?
Tonight. But be fixed to pay before you start putting it on your mule.
As the young contractor closed his deal with the smuggler, the Lone Ranger and Tonto rode through the Desolation Mountains. They were headed for a trail that led down from Mount Mason to the coast. The masked man was saying,
"We'll reach the trail tomorrow, Tonto.
Where we go from there?
To Colesport. It's rumored in the mining camps that nitroglycerin is being shipped from that town as harmless merchandise.
It kill plenty people.
That's because it's being smuggled. Only recently, a packet boat bound upriver from Colesport was blown up, and a deckhand dropped a box of mislabeled nitro. Nitroglycerin is so new that no law regulating its shipment has been enacted. We must try to stop the undercover methods now being used to move it.
How we do that?
We only need to expose a source of supply. The public will do the rest. Come on,
Come,
fellas.
Scout. Come.
The next day, Les Harcourt and his companions were on the trail to the tunnel project with a mule train loaded with nitroglycerin. During a brief halt, they had painted the packing cases, making known the dangerous contents. Joe Mitchell, who had worked as a powder monkey before ordinary blasting methods failed, rode behind the packed mules. He was yelling. Les and his foreman, Tim Tooney, looked back from the head of the string. The youthful contractor called,
Don't use a whip, Joe. Let the mules pick their footing.
Sure, we'll all be playing harps if one of them beasts falls down.
I bought the nitro on your advice, Tim.
Good advice it was, Les, me lad.
And you think it'll do the work?
Faith, from now on, we'll open 200 feet of tunnel a day.
If we don't, I'll lose my shirt.
Oh, is it that bad?
It took all my reserve cash to buy this nitro. I have just enough money left to meet the payroll for 6 weeks.
'Tis a shame you bid so low for the contract. Nobody else wanted it.
I had no idea I'd be the only bidder, Tim.
Every other contractor thought the mountain couldn't be tunneled.
Even the railroad officials were doubtful. They still are.
Don't be getting discouraged. The Tonys are behind you.
Tim, you and Molly have been wonderful.
Sure, and that Molly of mine is a fine girl.
Tim, I
Speak up, Les.
I want to marry Molly.
'Tis time you're asking for the Colleen's hand. She's in love with you.
Are you sure?
Molly keeps no secrets from her old father.
Oh, now no mountain can stand against me.
Well do I know how you feel, me boy. But 'tis back to earth he must come. Up yonder is Broken Wheel Pass.
It's a dangerous place.
Oh, saints preserve us if a stone falls down and hits a box.
The trail is too narrow for anyone to go around us safely.
It would be a good thing if you went ahead and stopped all travel at the other end of the pass.
No, I'll do that. Watch out for falling stones. Come on, get up, boy. See you later, Tim.
A few minutes later, Les drew rein at the far mouth of the pass.
Ho, up, boy.
As he waited, prepared to halt and warn anyone who approached, two riders swung around a turn in the trail ahead of him. The contractor saw that one wore a mask. He reached for a gun, but before he could draw, the masked man called out.
Hold it, mister.
Who are you?
We're friends. Both of us.
Who's down? Oh, fella.
Friends show their faces. What are you up to?
My mission is to serve justice. My mask helps me.
You don't talk like any crook I ever met. Whether or not you're a road agent, I must warn you not to enter the pass now. It's dangerous.
Why?
A pack train is coming through loaded with nitroglycerin.
As the contractor told the Lone Ranger and Tonto about the high explosive and the purpose for which it was to be used, two other riders walked their horses along a bluff overlooking the pass. They were Whit Thomas and Clint Graham, co-owners of the Star Stage and Freight Line. The pair had been spying on the tunnel project. Whip was saying,
Well, Clint, We don't have to worry anymore about losing our business to the railroad.
It looks that way, Whip.
The tunnel's gone as far as it'll ever go.
It has if Les Harcourt is almost broke.
His men say he is, and they should know.
What'll happen after he loses his contract?
The railroad company will give up the idea of pushing a line through the coalsport. I got that straight from their office.
Hey, Whip, look.
Huh?
Coming down the pass.
Mule train bound for Mount Mason.
Yeah,
hold
boy,
it.
hold it. Gee, they're packing a lot of red boxes.
I see some white letters on the boxes. What do they spell?
N-I-T-R... Nitro.
Gee, that's the new blasting stuff.
They say it'll blow up solid granite like it was sand.
I savvy Clint.
Savvy what?
Les Harcourt's going to use it in the tunnel.
Then he'll win out yet.
And we'll lose the best paying stage and freight line in the West. Who's that heading the string of mules?
I can't see his face, but must be Harcourt. He wasn't around the tunnel when we were there.
Yeah, I'm going to plug him.
Now, hold it. I have a better idea, Whip.
Yeah, spill it.
Shoot into one of those boxes.
By thunder, that'll get rid of Harcourt and the nitro.
Nobody will ever know what happened.
Let's dismount. Easy.
Ready, boy.
I don't want to miss.
That's a long shot, Whip. Here, take my Sharp's buffalo rifle.
Right. I'll lie down to shoot.
Allow a little for south wind in the pass.
Here goes.
An instant later, there was a blinding flash in the pass. Hard upon it came a breathtaking rush of air and the jarring thunder of a terrific explosion. At the mouth of the pass, the Lone Ranger, Tonto, and Les Harcourt were almost knocked from their saddles by the force of the blast. A fierce gust of wind roared around them. In the middle of the pass, rocks of all sizes filled the air, some shooting skyward, others falling from the cliffs. A vast cloud of yellowish smoke obscured the trail where the mule train had been. The youthful contractor groaned.
It was the nitro.
Let's see. Come on, Silver.
Soon the three men reached the scene of the explosion and drew rein.
Oh, Silver.
The smoke cloud had lifted, but the pungent odor of nitro hung in the air. Only dislodged boulders were visible on the trail. Les broke the unnatural silence with a cry.
Tim! Joe!
It's useless to call for them, Mr. Harcourt. I'm sorry.
Men, mules, all gone.
Tim and Joe were my best friends. It's my fault they're dead.
Don't blame yourself.
I bought the cursed stuff.
You did it in a good cause. The railroad needs that tunnel. The West needs the railroad.
No, I'll never be able to finish the job.
Why not?
The distraught contractor quickly explained his financial and engineering problems. He went on.
No, I haven't the money to buy more nitro and keep the workers paid.
Who sold you the explosives?
Sim Sherwood of Coalsport. He wanted to freight it to me under a false label.
I see. Now, tell me, do you have any enemies?
Why, I don't know.
Would anyone want to prevent the completion of the tunnel?
My misfortune might please the owners of the Star Stage and Freight Line. What are you driving at?
I heard a rifle shot an instant before the explosion.
Ah, me hear it, too.
Couldn't have had any connection with this awful accident.
Les, a rifleman looking down from the bluff on the other side of the pass, would have had a clear view of the mule train.
Well, that's true, but what...
He could have safely fired a bullet into one of the packing cases.
What? Maybe that's the answer. The impact of a bullet would have set off the nitro.
You were fortunate not to be with the train. Your own death may have been planned.
What'll I do?
Do you think now that my friend and I can be trusted?
I'll take a chance on you. I need help, anyone's help.
I suggest you report the explosion at your camp, then take word to the sheriff at Coalsport. Safeguard yourself, but don't mention us with a gunshot.
That's understood. And I hope we meet again.
We'll see you if it's possible. All right, let's ride, Tonto.
Where we go?
To the top of the bluff. We may find evidence there. Evidence of cold-blooded murder. Come on, Silver.
Get 'em up, Scout.
The curtain falls on the first act of our Lone Ranger adventure. Before the next exciting scenes, please permit us to pause for just a few moments. Now to continue. The Lone Ranger and Tonto rode to the top of a bluff overlooking the scene of death and destruction. There they drew rein. After a careful examination of the rim rock, Tonto pointed out the marks of hoofs.
2 horses stopped here, Kimosabe. Riders jumped down.
Look at this, Tonto.
Huh? Well, what you find?
An empty 45-90 cartridge. It still smells of burnt powder.
Them fellas set off explosion with bullets.
Which way'd they go?
Them head to Coalsport.
We'll take their trail. Easy, steady, big
Easy, Scout, easy, fella.
Come on, Silver.
Get off town.
Meanwhile, Les Harcourt had reached the construction camp near the uncompleted tunnel. Finding Molly in her father's cabin, he broke the news of the disaster as gently as possible.
With Father gone, everything's gone.
Oh, now, I'll take care of you, darling. I love you.
You love yourself. Why weren't you with them when it blew up?
I'd gone ahead to stop traffic. There were loose rocks on the sides of the pass.
You knew the danger, so you deserted them.
Oh, darling, please be fair.
Go and finish your tunnel, you coward.
I can't finish it now. The nitro's gone. I'm almost broke.
You deserve to be.
Perhaps. But the West doesn't deserve to lose the rail line. I wanted the tunnel to open up new country.
You may have this awful country. Now go away.
I'm going, Molly.
It was near nightfall when Les left the Tooney cabin, a beaten, broken man. Hopelessly, he heaved himself into the saddle and headed for the sheriff's office in Coalsport. At the same time, the Lone Ranger and Tonto reached the outskirts of the coast town and halted their horses. The gathering darkness and a multitude of new hoof prints had blotted out their quarry's trail. Tonto was saying,
We not fine fellas now.
Tomorrow's another day.
What we do tonight?
We know where to get Sim Sherwood, so we'll go after him.
Later that night, the Lone Ranger and Tonto crept up to the door of Sim Sherwood's shanty. On the nearby beach, the swells of an approaching storm were breaking. The masked man knocked.
Yes, coming.
Reach, Sherwood.
What? The masked man is injured.
You not got gun, Kimosabe.
Well, take my money, but don't shoot me.
This isn't a holdup.
Then what do you want?
Sherwood, we know you're a nitro smuggler. We know where your stuff is hidden.
Well, suppose you do. It's legal to deal in it.
Tell that to the sheriff. Bring him along, Tonto.
In the meantime, Les had reached the office of Sheriff Rick Howard. He reported the explosion and deaths of his friends, but said nothing about the masked man and Indian or the shot that had preceded the blast. Sheriff Howard scratched his grizzled head.
Likely a fallen stone set off the doggone stuff. Where'd you get it?
From Sim Sherwood.
So he's the buzzard who peddles it, hmm? I've been trying to stop nitro running. So's Pete, my deputy.
We can't do much when there's nothing in the law books against him.
Yes.
What?
Well, strike me dead. Look there.
A masked man and an Injun.
Steady, men. Move on, Sherwood.
They have Sim Sherwood.
Now, what the blue blazes does this mean?
Sheriff, here's the nitro dealer whose mislabeled shipments have caused so many
I
deaths.
know, but who are you?
He's a friend of mine. I'll vouch for him.
What's the idea of the mask?
It often helps me in hunting down men like Sherwood.
Sheriff, make him release me. My nitro trade is legal.
It's not legal when you mislabel the stuff. It's willful misrepresentation the way you ship that nitro. And for that, I'm putting you in jail.
Jail?
That's right. And I'm confiscating all the nitro.
You can't do that. I'll sue you.
Go ahead and sue.
That will mean publicity in the newspaper. People in this town who had friends or relatives on board that riverboat when the sneak shipment of nitro blew up will be glad to know who's to blame.
Well, they mobbed me.
That's right.
Hey, Sheriff, you'd have to protect me.
Well, I could try. But having only one deputy, it isn't likely I could save your neck. You'd better not make too much noise, Sherwood. I'll help keep your arrest quiet, and we'll do our best to hold your trial and get you to the territorial prison without a lynching.
A short while later, the Lone Ranger, Tonto, and Les Harcourt left the sheriff's office together. The masked man led the way to an isolated spot, then halted his friends.
Les, are you willing to risk your life in order to catch the men who caused the mule train explosion?
Oh, of course. But are you sure it was murder?
Yes. The shot was aimed and fired deliberately.
By whom?
I can only guess. But I have a plan that may make it possible to trap and identify them.
Let me hear it.
All right? This is what we'll do.
Later that night, Whip Thomas burst into the office of the Freight and Stage Company. As his partner looked up from a desk, he exclaimed,
Clint, we didn't kill young Harcourt.
What?
No, I just saw him in town. He's been buying packing cases and red paint.
That means he has more nitro.
Where'd he get the money? We figured he was almost broke.
Someone must have backed him.
A fella who digs tunnels and packs nitro's a mighty poor risk.
What'll we do?
He dropped word he'd take the stuff through the mountains tomorrow. We'll lay for him and shoot into one of the boxes from the bluff, just as we did before.
Yeah. And this time we'll make sure we get him.
Early the next afternoon, Les Harcourt rode into the mouth of Broken Wheel Pass, driving a string of a dozen hired mules.
Help! Heat up! Help! Hey!
Each animal carried 2 red boxes that were marked nitro. Earlier, the Lone Ranger had left the trail to scout the high ground along the pass. As the contractor's mules plodded on, the scene of the fatal blast became visible ahead.
Ho! Here! Ha! Hey!
At that moment, Whip Thomas and Clint Graham lay on top of the bluff from which they had fired on the nitro train the previous day. Whip was saying,
Here he comes, Clint.
Yeah, it's high time. We've been waiting here since sunup.
Yeah, that's Harcourt. I'll get ready to shoot.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Now.
Drop that rifle.
Hey, what the...
Hey, look back of us.
Smash man, he has us covered.
Drop that rifle over the edge.
Yeah. There it goes. Now, just don't shoot.
Now, get up. Keep your hands high.
What do you want of us?
Right now, I want your revolvers. There goes one.
Tossing Whip's six-shooter over the bluff, the Lone Ranger moved to disarm Clint, who carried a Colt in an old military holster with a button flap. As the masked man undid the flap and grasped the gun butt, Clint jerked away.
Stand still.
The gun came out in the Lone Ranger's hand, but its sudden release from the holster caused Clint to stagger backward. Then he was tottering on the edge of the bluff.
Oh, I'm gonna fall! Help! Help!
Your hand. Give me your hand.
The Lone Ranger clutched at one of Clint's wildly waving arms and missed. Then the eroded rim rock on the brink gave way. For a moment, it seemed that both the masked man and the killer were doomed. The Lone Ranger went to his knees and grabbed bushes.
Catch hold of my leg.
I can't reach it!
More of the rim rock fell as the masked man wormed his way to safety. With it went the screaming killer. Meanwhile, Whip had seized the opportunity to escape. Leaping into a nearby thicket where he and Clint had hidden their horses, he mounted and headed toward the construction camp. On his feet again, the Lone Ranger found that Silver, sensing his peril, had galloped up. The Lone Ranger swung to the saddle.
Easy, steady, big fella. Come on, Silver.
Soon, the fleeing killer realized that he was being chased and would soon be overtaken. He spurred his horse.
Get up there.
Still, the mighty stallion that bore the masked man kept gaining. As he reached the far end of the pass, Whip cut down from the high ground and headed directly for the construction camp, hoping to rearm himself. Bullets whined over his head as the Lone Ranger fired warning shots. As Whip thundered into the camp, Molly Tooney heard the hoops and gunfire. She ran out of her cabin with a revolver. The killer brought his horse to a skidding stop beside her.
Ho there, ho! Quick, give me that gun.
What's going on?
I'm being chased by an outlaw. There he comes. You see his mask?
Yes, I see it. Take the gun.
Run, miss. He's a killer.
Stand still. I'm using you for a shield.
Let go of me!
Oh, you bit me, you vixen.
As Whip relaxed his hold, Molly jerked free. The masked man fired.
Oh, my arm. He broke my arm.
Grab that gun, miss.
Oh, easy. Steady, big fella.
I have this gun and it's pointing at you.
Steady, I'm not an outlaw.
You're wearing a mask.
Les Harcourt can explain it. We're friends. He'll soon be here.
Why were you chasing this man?
First, may I ask who he is?
He's Whip Thomas, one of the 2 owners of the stage line.
I think he and his partner shot into the nitro train yesterday, causing the explosion that killed Mitchell and Tooney.
Mike Tooney was my father. I'm Molly.
I've heard Les speak of you.
That coward.
Miss Molly, Les is one of the bravest and best men in the West. My Indian friend and I owe him our lives. He stopped us yesterday before we could enter the pass.
And he did go ahead to stop travelers.
Today, he and my friend Tonto exposed themselves to the guns of the murderers by bringing another mule train through the pass.
Here he comes now. Your Indian friend and the sheriff are with him.
The gallop from the mules will blow us all to kingdom come.
Thomas, those boxes are harmless.
Harmless?
Yes. That mule train served as bait. We thought you might try to blow it up again.
Well, mister, I see you have the other varmint.
Yes, Sheriff. Do you know the story?
Yeah, Les told me everything after I overtook him on the trail. What happened here?
I had to wing Thomas. He tried to use Miss Molly as a shield.
Molly, darling, did he hurt you?
No, Les. But it does hurt me to know how I misjudged you. The masked man has told me what you did. Please forgive me.
Forgive you? Oh,
Well, I reckon I'd best be taking this killer to Coldport.
You can't prove I ever killed anybody?
We have Clint Graham, your partner.
What?
My deputy is taking him to town.
I thought he fell off the bluff. I heard him yell.
I saw what happened from a distance. Masked man didn't fall, did he?
Well, no, but...
Well, if you're smart, you'll talk. Clint is it fixed so he'll escape being hanged.
So he's blabbed, huh? He's going to turn state's evidence.
What do you think?
The polecat's going to swing with me. He got me to shoot into that nitro yesterday. He's as guilty as I am.
You heard his confession, folks. Remember it.
You just locked me in the same cell with Clint.
Whip, I didn't say we taking your partner prisoner.
What?
He's as dead as a 500-foot fall could make him.
What? Oh, you tricked me.
Good work, Sheriff.
Well, you didn't leave me much to do, mister.
What about Sherwood's nitro?
Sherwood turned it over to me. He relinquished all claim to it in the hope of reducing the sentence. Now folks are saying I have to get rid of it.
How, Sheriff?
Well, it's too dangerous to move it to store and can't find anyone who will pay real money for it. So I reckon I'd be within my authority to sell it to the first one who makes a reasonable offer.
I'm just about broke, except for the cash I'll need to meet my payroll.
Make an offer.
Well, Sheriff, by cutting corners, I might raise $100.
Sold.
You mean that?
$100 cash will do more good in Coldport than a lot of nitroglycerin. You bought the nitro.
And my tunnel will go through.
Good. Otto, it's time for us to go.
Mister, I wish I could reward you for what you've done. If there's anything you want...
Otto and I only want to be of service. Adios.
Goodbye,
Adios.
mister.
Bliss, that masked man certainly said a lot of things right.
Oh, it isn't the first time he's done that. I learned from the Indian that he's the Lone Ranger.
This is a feature of the Lone Ranger Incorporated, created by George W. Trendle, produced by Trendle Campbell Enterprises, directed by Charles D. Livingston, and edited by Fran Stryker. The part of the Lone Ranger is played by Brace Beamer.
You've been listening to the OTR Gold Network. Find more classic radio at otrgold.com.